Okay, let's see. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeanne Shack. I'm with the Rotary E-Club of District 7710. This evening, we have Rick Carnagua. He'll be talking with us tonight about CART, Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust Fund. And he is a past district governor and a member of the Carrie Page Rotary Club. Everyone, please welcome Rick. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me speak to you tonight. This is a program I've done at quite a few different Rotary clubs over the last couple of years as I've been district CART chair. But Alzheimer's is a disease that is affecting so many people now. I think if you think about it, it has affected your life in one way or another, either family, friends, a relative, somebody that you have known has probably been affected by this disease. And right now they're saying that 1 in 9 people the age of 65 or older are going to contract Alzheimer's. And that number goes up even more to 1 in 3 the age 85 or older. So it's a disease that has the possibility to affect millions and millions of people. And also, it's not just the individuals that have Alzheimer's, it's also the caregivers. And recently I heard someone say that you do not have to have Alzheimer's to die from Alzheimer's because of the strain and the stress that's put on caregivers is also very life-threatening in itself. So Rotary, as Rotarians, we usually don't sit on the sidelines when something is going on and something we can do something about. So in 1995, a Rotarian down in Sumter, South Carolina, named Roger Ackerman, his mother-in-law that he loved very dearly had Alzheimer's. And this had a big effect on Roger. And he stood up one day at the Sumter Rotary Club and he said, I think we need to do something about this. This disease is progressing and becoming a real problem. And I think as Rotarians, we need to do something. So what they came up with, what the Sumter Club came up with was that they asked Rotarians in the club to start taking the loose change that was in their pockets and every week at their club meeting to put this change in a bucket. And they did this because they didn't want to have another fundraiser. Their club had quite a few fundraisers already going on, and they felt like this issue with Alzheimer's was more of an ongoing issue every week, not just a fundraiser issue. So they decided not to do fundraisers at that time. But what they did come up with was these blue buckets. And this is what they came up with to start everybody putting the change into, which has now become a real symbol of the CART Fund. And as was mentioned, the CART stands for Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust. So they started collecting these coins, and by 1999, about 4 years later, they had collected enough money that they felt like they could issue their first grant. And the first grant was issued to Dr. Alan Levy at Emory University in Atlanta. And Dr. Emory is a very well-known Alzheimer's researcher. And actually, he was just recently awarded a $7.3 million grant from the National Institute of Health. So you can see that they picked a very good first recipient of the first grant. Well, after that first grant was issued in 1999, 10 Rotary districts in the Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia committed to joining in. Because what happened was that other Rotarians would come and visit the Sumter Club, and they would start asking about, what's this blue bucket about? What are you guys doing? And when they were told, they said, well, that's a great idea. So they would ask for some blue buckets, and they would take those blue buckets back to their club. So it grew through the Southeast. And I think this is one of the other side effects of the CART Fund is that it's a true demonstration of just how Rotary works. Because one Rotarian stood up and said, I think we need to do something about this. And that's how things usually happen in most clubs. Most clubs, you know, my club, we go to Ronald McDonald houses, we bring Bell for Salvation Army, we tutor kids at reading feed. All these things happen because somebody in the club stood up one day and said, we need to do something. There's a problem here, or somebody needs help, and we need to help. And that's truly what the CART Fund is all about, because of Roger Ackerman standing up and saying we need to do something about Alzheimer's. Well, now the CART Fund has grown. It's in a total of 20 Rotary districts, including not only the Carolinas and Georgia, but also there's one in Arizona, there's 2 districts in Tennessee, 1 in Alabama, 3 in Florida. Actually, I think there's going to be a fourth district in Florida just joined in. And an interesting thing, there's one Rotary Club in Twin Falls, Idaho, does CART. To show you just how much this has grown, in 2015-16, there was $600,000 raised for the CART Fund. That's a lot of coins. You know, people will also not just donate coins. They'll write checks. They'll put in cash. But also, many clubs now do fundraisers or have a special event to raise money for CART. The other really interesting thing about CART is that the CART Fund bylaws require that 100% of all donated funds go to Alzheimer's research. If you stop and think about that for a minute, that's pretty amazing. You know, the Rotary Foundation was just voted one of the top 5 foundations in the world. And I think right now that the Rotary Foundation, 89% of the money that we donate goes to charitable event. But you think about the CART Fund, 100%. So all the money that we put in the buckets goes to Alzheimer's research. I don't think there's many nonprofits that can say that. What they decided to do as far as how could the money be used for Alzheimer's research, the board of the fund decided that the fund will encourage exploratory and developmental research projects. This means that there are projects that the early stage research who cannot secure funding from more traditional avenues such as the National Institute of Health, that they're still in the proof of concept phase. So they're in very early stage research. So they're having difficulties raising this money. So this is where the CART Fund money goes to, this early stage research events. And the researchers will tell you that this is extremely important for them because they have an idea, they've done some research into it, they've seen that the idea has some promise, but they need the funding in order to keep that research going. Every year, the fund receives grant applications. Today, in the past year, the fund received over 80 grant applications for a grant, which is remarkable. The CART Fund Board of Directors is made up of the representatives from the sponsoring districts. So those 20 districts that we talked about all have representation on the board. The incoming district governor and the district CART chair are voting members on the board. And there's an executive committee chaired by the CART board president that provide the leadership for the organization. There's also a grants committee made up of three person advisory team, and these are renowned Alzheimer's researchers, and they end up selecting the grant winners for that particular year. The amount of the grants awarded from the fund are $250,000 or less each year. They can be a multiple year grant. So they can be 100,000 one first year, 100,000 second year, or 50,000 a third year, something like that. this helps them to keep their research going and over a longer period of time. Some grants are only 1-year grants. Actually seeing a good picture, I think, right now of the past CART Fund board meeting down in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. There is an executive director who runs the day-to-day operations of the CART Fund. He is Bill Shelto. He is a past district governor from the western part of North Carolina. Bill does get some payment, but his pay is only comes from interest earned on contributions to the fund. So you can imagine with today's interest rates and everything, Bill's not making a whole lot of money. So he's doing this more out of the generosity of his own heart. The CART program itself is not a Rotary International sponsored program. It's a program of Rotary clubs in the eastern part of the United States. There are now over 700 Rotary clubs that do put money in the CART Fund. There's been a lot of talk in Rotary, as you all probably know, that Monday was Polio Day, World Polio Day. There's been a lot of talk about exactly where does Rotary go after we eradicated polio. What would be the next disease that we possibly could tackle? And Alzheimer's certainly is one that's getting a lot of attention. And there's been a lot of discussions between the CART Fund and Rotary International. But what has happened in the last year is Rotary International has what's called action groups. Action groups are kind of subsets of Rotary that focus on different issues: water and sanitation, childhood literacy, different topics. And these action groups are formed to address how Rotary can help in these different avenues. And during the last year, an action group was formed on Alzheimer's and dementia. And the CART Fund became a part of this action group. So now CART has more of a link to Rotary International, and also will have the advantage of having resources of not just only Rotary clubs in the Southeast, but all over the world. So I think that's a very good thing for the CART Fund, and will help it to grow even more. Our district, 7710, we joined in CART in 1999. So our district has a pretty long history now with the CART Fund, and over that period of time, since 1999 to this past year, our district has contributed over $250,000 to the CART Fund, which is pretty amazing. On May 3rd of this year, there was a board meeting, as I mentioned earlier, down in Columbia, South Carolina, where all the districts came together. And at that board meeting, the grants for 2015-16 were awarded. And I think maybe you can see on your screen now a picture of those grant recipients. That's our district governor received Sinclair, and I'm over there on the left. But those are also the other researchers that were grant recipients for this year. And it's always interesting to hear. They present a short program on their research and what they're looking into. And it's always interesting to hear exactly what they have going on. This year, the 5 grants that were awarded, the first grant was awarded to the University of Illinois at Urbana. That was a $50,000 grant. Washington University in St. Louis received a $125,000 grant. And the University of California at Davis received a $125,000 grant. And the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, they actually received 2 grants, 2 different researchers at that organization, for a total of $300,000. this was the first time in the history of the CART Fund that we were able to award $600,000 of grants in 1 year. There has been one university or one research institute in North Carolina to receive a grant from the CART Fund. When I asked this question at clubs, I asked them who do they think that university could have been, and of course you hear Duke or you hear UNC Chapel Hill, but the answer is actually UNC Pembroke. A researcher, Dr. Barr, at that university is doing some very interesting research into Alzheimer's, and he was awarded a $100,000 grant a year ago to help support that research. To date, the CART Fund has awarded 34 grants totally over 20 years, totaling $5.8 million. 25 different research centers have received grants. If you go back to thinking about, Roger Ackerman standing up at that club meeting in 1995 and saying, we need to do something about Alzheimer's. I think now that that fund, the CART Fund, that started with that first change going in the bucket, has now reached a total of $5.8 million. To me, that's incredible. And it really does show the power of Rotary and what can be accomplished with that. I'd be happy to tell you, if you're interested in giving to the CART Fund, if you'd like to make a donation, or if you guys would like to start collecting money yourself for your E-Club, you can make checks. If you want to write a check, you can write a check to the CART Fund, and you would mail it to me, since I'm the district CART chair. And I collect all the money from the clubs in the district, and then I send one check about every month to the CART Fund and credit each club for what they've donated. But I think I can put out at my address in Cary, but make the check out to the CART Fund and send it to Rick Carnagua at 104 Freehold Court in Cary at 27519. I think also on the screen there you see some of the amounts that different clubs have raised this past year. Our Cary Kildare Club gave over $4,800 to the CART Fund, which is outstanding also. Coming up October 31st week, and starting next week in the district, is what's called CART Week. We started this about 4 years ago, where we take 1 week and clubs put an emphasis on CART and do maybe some special fundraisers that week, or try to raise some extra money for that particular week. Our goal for next week is to raise $5,000 next week at clubs, and our goal for the whole year for our district is $50,000 for this year. So that'll be a little bit of a stretch goal for us. Last year we did around 45,000, so we're looking at about a 10% increase. If there's any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody might have about the CART Fund. And
wonderful. Thank you, Rick.